People can make a lot of mistakes on LinkedIn, unfortunately. So you're only there to create posts, you're only there to pitch people, you're just there to sell. That's not working. You are in trouble.
I see that happening a lot with direct messaging. You don't want to just jump in and say, hey man, I saw your profile, I saw you liked what I got.
Two things can happen. Either you ghost me, which means you didn't went for it, then I put you on another list, and in a month I will try with another type of content. Or you go like, hey Richard, this sounds great, please send it to me. Then I have my third message, I send you the article, and then in a week I follow up and say, hey John, did you find the time to go through the article? What are your thoughts? Second, try to see if there's an opening to start a conversation about what we do and how we could support you. 3, deliver the goods for free. And then 4,
and now the man you've been waiting for, John, the sales machine, Rankins.
All right, folks, today's guest is a straight-up LinkedIn savage, Richard Blom. This guy's been cracking the LinkedIn code before most people knew what the hell a connection request was. He's trained over 300,000 pros, worked with giants like Nestle, Salesforce, PwC. I mean, dude's got receipts. He's the brain behind that viral LinkedIn algorithm report everyone's quoting, but no one understands. If you've ever wondered how to actually use LinkedIn to grow your business, sell more, look no further. This guy is the real deal. He's trained over 1,000 companies that, look for people to transform what they're doing on LinkedIn and not only have a brand and a presence, but to actually monetize what they're doing. He's literally spent 20 years building out his own LinkedIn, his training systems. He recently, hit over 230,000 followers. And in addition to that, he's taken all that knowledge over the last 20 years and he's put it into a playbook, literally a content algorithm playbook for LinkedIn like no one else has ever done. It's got over 5 million downloads. And he personally spent over $30,000 putting this thing together. Listen in, folks. You're about to get a master class on what to do in LinkedIn to grow and scale your business. And later on in the podcast, we're going to do a special offer for you guys to take advantage of and actually get the same training and the same knowledge that Nestle, Salesforce, PwC got, and you can use it literally for your business. Let's welcome him to the show, Richard Blom.
Wow, John, thank you very much for this introduction. I mean, I've had a lot of introduction, but this one definitely tops the ranks. It's impressive. Thank you.
Well, man, you're impressive. I'm just trying to get along and get in where I fit in. And we help people, all over the world to increase their sales, drive marketing and presence online. So tell me, how did you get involved in this game of LinkedIn? Because a lot of people live off LinkedIn and there's a lot of false prophets out there. How did you get involved? And then let's talk about what you do differently than everybody else.
Sure. So I have a background in sales. So I've been working in B2B sales for around 10 to 12 years before I started my LinkedIn business back in 2010. And working in sales and also having trained a lot of sales professionals, a lot of entrepreneurs, I basically understood one thing, and that is that a lot of people don't like to sell. They don't like to kick in doors. They don't like to do the cold calling. But once they have their first meeting, they love to talk with a customer. So to get to the table, to have your introduction call, that's where a lot of people struggle with. And I very quickly discovered LinkedIn as a potential platform, a potential channel to get yourself in front of your audience in an authentic, genuine way, just by positioning yourself and sharing valuable content. So that's basically what I started doing in 2010, explain to people how LinkedIn could potentially fit in to your marketing channels and your positioning channels. And, it became very quickly successful because people feel a lot more confident to create a profile on LinkedIn, to share content and to follow up on engagement instead of doing the cold outreach. Basically, that's what I've been doing. And I think that one of the things that sets me apart from a lot of LinkedIn experts is that I actually walked the talk. I've been into sales like over 15 years, B2B sales, heavy sales. I know what the clients are going to say. I know how to deal with rejection. I know how to deal with, difficult buyer committees. And we have implemented all those things also in our trainings.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. 5 million downloads. I mean, and you got, the biggest companies in the world actually investing in you training their teams to actually do it for them. Now, the terrain is changed. It's changing all the time. And ultimately, there's a lot of noise out there. I've had guests on the show that are in sales and marketing, in artificial intelligence. And 20 years ago, there wasn't limits on how many people you could add to your LinkedIn profile. I got friends that are like, I went to the beach for a year and added, 100,000 people. And I would just do it all day, all day, all day. You're not allowed to do that. There's limits now. So talk about what has changed from then to now. And then we'll go into all of the noise that's happening on LinkedIn.
Well, I think a lot have changed throughout the years. You mentioned some restrictions or limitations. You can have unlimited followers still, but you can have only 30,000 connections. For example, I reached the max last year, 30,000 connections. So that basically means if I would like to invite a new client, I need to kick somebody out because otherwise I cannot add him. It doesn't make sense to me anyway, the limitation, but it is there. LinkedIn is limiting the number of personalized invites to connect you can send. If you don't have a paid subscription, you're limited to 5 or 10 a month, which as a result brought a lot of spam waves of non-personalized invites because people can hit the button, send invite as much as they can, but they can only personalize 5 or 10 a month. There's a limitation on profiles you can visit before you get flagged as potential automation. So it has become like, I often refer to it as a game. We are playing a LinkedIn game without knowing the exact rules. Only LinkedIn knows them, but they don't communicate them. So they communicate them when you get banned or restricted. And then they say, you visited too many profiles, you send out too many DMs, but you need to tell me up front, So those things has happened. I think it also has everything to do with a massive growth the platform has seen over the last years. I mean, we have 1.1 billion members. We have a lot more people creating content, also stimulated, empowered by, AI that makes it so much easier to create content or to create comments. So I would say that we are on a cross point, and this is probably one of the most important things I'm going to say today, John. We are at a cross point of a platform that was built on human-to-human interaction, that was built on trust and credibility, and that now really suffers from more AI-generated content, more automated bots, more automated outreach than ever before.
Yeah, and so in saying that, like I get LinkedIn outreach all the time. A lot of it's automated, a lot of it's AI. And, it's just so obvious, right? But how do you sort and sift through all of the noise and not just as, as a user, but I mean, as a content creator, how do you create content that actually is deliverable and makes an impact?
First thing you need to forget about is going viral. Okay, virality means you're one of the many people that chase numbers instead of chasing clients. So let go of the thought that I need to go viral because there's so many people selling templates with best performing hooks, best performing posts, best performing topics. There are even, I don't know if you know this, John, but you can buy content libraries that have infographics about the 12 leadership styles, the 9 toxic behaviors of a boss. I mean, I've seen so many of the same infographics. And the only thing I know is that people bought, the library of content that is not even relevant to their target audience, but they just want to go viral. They just want to get like 100,000 views and say, pat themselves on the back and say, look at me being successful. So forget about virality. Put your target audience, your potential clients central in your content creation process. Because what we want in the end is conversion. We don't want massive reach. We need to have relevant reach. We need to build trust to be able to convert potential clients into connections, into meetings, into, deals. So that's the first thing. And then authenticity, your human voice is the most important asset now in your content. I mean, so many people are underestimating the intelligence of their audience by thinking that their audience will not recognize the AI written post or the AI written comments. But you just mentioned, John, it's so obvious. We all know. I mean, I had a client, he's in marketing, he has a marketing agency. It's a Dutch guy, and he recently reached out to me via a direct message, one-on-one message. And it was so obviously AI generated, one-to-many copy that I just picked up my phone. I called him and I say, hey, what the hell are you doing on LinkedIn? Because you're sending me a message that is so obviously written by AI. And I do not longer feel special anymore. I feel like you're treating me as one out of the 1,000. He said, yeah, apologize. My team are, they are checking new tools and you shouldn't have been in the sample audience. I was. And I said, stop it, because it will ruin your reputation, because your audience knows it's not used. Your audience knows you're going to target them with follow-up messages that are not coming from yourself. So with the rise of all these AI noise, your human voice and your authenticity will make a difference. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah, and because I was recently evaluating even my profile, and there's a lot of people out there like, we'll optimize your profile, we'll do this, we'll do that, and there's just a lot of it out there. And lead generation seems to be like, one of the biggest things. We'll get you 30 new leads, we'll get you 50 new leads, we'll get you 100 new leads. Like, it's all day, every day, at least 10, 20, 30 messages that I get. And especially because I have a software company, right? The Sales Machine. We help companies increase sales and drive performance and retain their customers. And we do it, differently as far as the outreach and different things. And but I was scrolling LinkedIn, like you said, and I saw several different sales leaders and or marketing leaders literally offering their content library up for free. Get 50 different templates of this, 50 different landing pages, 50 different handling objection charts. But at the same time, though, not, they're getting thousands of likes, but they're getting hundreds of comments. So is it effective or totally not effective?
There are a few reasons. I don't think it's effective. I think they are, besides selling stuff that is copy-paste, they are probably also engaged in a bot, an engagement bot. And you can recognize this by high numbers of likes, high numbers of comments, very low numbers of reposts. An engagement bot is basically that they connect their account with a group of people that auto-like, auto-comment on their post, which means they're actively manipulating the system to get more reach. And there is a ranking tool. There is a new company, a SaaS, an influential company. It's called Favicon. It's a French company, and they have a lot of lists. They have lists of like the top 100 US LinkedIn creators. They have lists of the global top 100 marketing leaders on LinkedIn. It's an amazing platform, but they are the first to release what they call an authenticity score. And that means that they have a system now where if you fill in a name of any LinkedIn content creator, you can see the authenticity score and you can see if they are manipulating the system, if they are in engagement bots, if they're using AI content. And this will be a game changer, because now a lot of people who position themselves as thought leaders, sales thought leaders. I grew my account with 300, 400,000 followers with authenticity, with my own posts without bots. They are now revealed, because now you can see that they are using bots, they are using manipulation tricks to grow. And this will be a game changer. I told the CEO of Avicom, please hide, because if this tool becomes available, will be like chased by so many content creators that are now exposed. You mentioned earlier, I grew 230,000 followers. My growth each month is around 0.4%. Okay, so it's not very steep. I get on a monthly base, I get around 800, 900, maybe 1,000 followers more. So it's very slow. I've been on LinkedIn since 2005. But any person who grows with 5, 6, 7, 8,000 a month, any growth that is over 4 to 5% of your current follower size is for 95% sure manipulated. And when it's manipulated, it has less value, because these are either fake accounts or very inactive accounts from regions that you're not like working in. So it's manipulated engagement. It doesn't bring you conversion. That's the most important part. That's why I always say don't chase numbers, but chase impact. You want to have an impact.
Yeah, I get it. And you said a key to identifying those fake profiles, and a lot of people are doing it. And I would not fake profiles, but let's just call it exaggerated
Fake growth.
fake growth.
Yep.
The key to identifying those, and a lot of them are doing it to sell you a LinkedIn course on how to grow
Exactly.
your LinkedIn. And their business is not a brick and mortar business and or a marketing play. It's really they're selling. They want to show you that, and so that you can sell that. But ultimately, if your business is not in selling LinkedIn courses, what's the point? So
but that's spot on, John. That's spot on. I don't get it because I also have a community. It costs $1,000 a month. And some people join my community after spending $5,000 on a cohort where the owner said, I've grown to 1 million followers. You can do the same. And when you pay the $5,000, you get his content library. Okay, so you get his post. He plugs your profile into an engagement pod of all the other clients, which is a risk because you can lose your profile if LinkedIn detects it. But what people forget is that his goal to grow on LinkedIn, to find new clients that buy his LinkedIn system, is not their goal because they are selling SaaS software, they are selling email marketing, they are doing whatever different. So it doesn't resonate, and they don't get it, and they get a lot of reach from an irrelevant audience. So in the beginning, it grows their ego. But after 2-3 months, they realize like, hey, this is not bringing me any new clients. And they get disappointed. They pay the $5,000, so they lost it. And then they turn to other people like me, like say, okay, now like help me to translate the best working strategies into what works for me with this target audience in this specific industry.
Yeah, so reposting, if people aren't reposting the stuff, it's pretty likely that it's just bots.
Yeah, if you get high numbers of likes and comments, that can be automated. What is not automated yet is repost. So one of the things that I'm actively steering on with my content is to create content that is so insightful, so relevant that people want to repost it because they want to be the messenger in their network. A high number of reposts indicates to the LinkedIn algorithm that you are influential and insightful in terms of content sharing, which makes them actually increase your reach. So you need to go for a lot of reposts.
Yeah, I get it. And, repost this and I'll send you a playbook. Repost this and, I'll feature you or your business or have you jump on the podcast and let's talk about it, how you're different. Because I never say that I'm better than anybody. I'm definitely different than everybody. I'm not better than anybody, but I'm different than everybody because I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. And I just think that's just, it's a real turnoff when people try to, be good at everything and say they know everything, right? But this is your arena. And, even me, I want to get better at engaging people that want to increase their sales, drive performance with the sales machine, software as a service that we automate rewards, recognition, competition, compensation, and levels of development and growth for organizations to have an all-in-one system so they don't have to buy several different technologies. It's that simple. That's what I do. I've been doing it for 30 years. I just took that psychology, the methodology, and now I put it into technology. I had to hire engineers. What do I know about coding? Nothing. But I know how to grow companies, right? You know how to grow LinkedIn. So what is the structure you use and the framework you use to actually help companies like Nestle and PwC to set up campaigns to attract new customers for them authentically?
So what we teach, and we normally work with sales teams. So we train sales teams and we guide marketing teams in what they can do to support their salespeople from the company page. When we work with the salespeople, we explain to them that there are 4 important elements in your individual sales strategy on LinkedIn. First one is your branding. That's where it all starts. Your profile needs to be customer centric, not a resume, but customer centric. So when a potential client lands on your profile, he needs to be impressed about the relevance of the content, the expertise you demonstrate on your profile. So whenever you're going to send an invite to connect to prospects and they check you out because they never heard of you prior to the invite, it needs to be a no-brainer to accept, okay? And a lot of salespeople, I think 70s, maybe 80% of the salespeople that we onboard in our training programs, when we discuss, we're going to start with your profile, they all go, nah, I've been on LinkedIn for 8-10 years. My profile is okay. And then when we look, it's missing converting elements. It's not customer centric. They talk about cross-selling, upselling, increasing market revenue. No client wants to hear that you are cross-selling or upselling. Your client wants to hear what's relevant for them, not what's relevant for, a recruiter. So that's the first thing, branding. Second, your content strategy. If, as a salesperson, the only thing you are doing is engaging, reposting, liking company content, it's not going to fly. You need to be or become an authority on LinkedIn. And that involves having your own unique content strategy that, on the one hand, positions you as the expert, the person to go to in your field of expertise, but on the other hand, creates trust, credibility, and humanizes your brand. So it makes you approachable. So that is often a combination of thought leadership content, industry-related content, but also personal storytelling. The more you dare to share of your journey, the more easy it gets for people to approach you when they have questions. So that's your content, the post I publish. Third one is your engagement strategy. If you don't have an engagement strategy in 2025, you're not going to win the LinkedIn game. With engagement strategy, I mean comment strategy. So besides my daily post, I spend another 20 to 30 minutes a day leaving insightful, relevant comments on content shared by peers, influencers, clients, or prospects. Because if you leave insightful, relevant comments that add value to the discussion on other people's profiles, you position yourself directly in their network. So instead of only sending out my own posts and actually being in my bubble, I need to literally step out of my bubble and comment on other people's posts to get more visibility. And then the fourth one, and that should be a no-brainer for salespeople as well, is your conversion strategy. There are so many people, John, that think, hey, I optimize my profile, I publish like 3-4 times a week, I do some comments, and now I'm going to sit back, relax, and watch the magic happen. You need to support your clients convert to the first meeting. If you don't reach out to them, if you don't make it as simple as possible, you will miss out of 90% of the conversion. So to give you an example, I create a post and a prospect is liking the post, not commenting, is liking the post. I can forget about this moment and wait until he's going to respond again to my next post or whatever, or he's sending me a message, but probably this will not happen because a lot of people are very reluctant to respond or are very passive. So what I do, if I get a like from somebody who could be a potential client, I send a connection request and say, hey, John, I just saw you like my post today about modern social selling. Thanks a lot. Let's connect. And I would like to see more of your content as well. And you get an 80% acceptance rate. If somebody visits your profile based on your post, because LinkedIn is now rolling out new analytics, which means you can actually see who comes to your profile based on which post. So if my target audience visits my profile, but they don't do any action more, they don't invite me, they don't whatever, I reach out to them and say, hey, I saw you recently visit my profile. Was it something I shared, an introduction or a mutual connection? I would love to connect with you and see more of your content. So you need to really follow up on all these engagement signals or buying signals proactively to grow your network with potential clients. If they accept, they will now see all your future content because LinkedIn prioritizes new connections. So it means there is a huge value in proactively growing your network with people who knocked on your door, because in the end, you build a network with potential clients. They will see more of your posts. You will build more credibility until the moment that they will reach out to you and say, hey, I've been following you now for 6 weeks or 6 months. Amazing content, and we need your expertise in our company. So it's branding, it's content strategy, it's engagement strategy, it's conversion strategy. Those 4.
Yeah, I got it. So let's talk about number 1, about branding. So how important is it? You're working with Nestle and, all these different high profile clients that have, literally sales teams into the hundreds and the thousands,
Yep.
as an example. How important is it for them to have a personal brand beyond the company brand where they want to bring the business to, especially if they're a member of Nestle or they're a member of PW?
Yeah, that's what I hear a lot. A lot of people like working with the biggest corporates, they often say like, no, we don't need to sell because Nestle sells itself. And I disagree. And all of them need more revenue and need more new clients. So somewhere between the perspective that dropping the brand name already sells and their actual pipeline is not aligned. I strongly believe that B2B sales is built on human to human interaction. We're not selling to companies. We're not selling to buildings. We're selling to human people who have emotions, who have a preference, who have their own unique way of communication, which is speaking, but also listening. So that means that if you lack a unique, authentic brand on LinkedIn, people will not trust you. People will not give you the credibility you need to have to knock on the door, to open the door, and to get your first meeting. It's your personal brand that makes people decide whether they are receptive to book a meeting with you, yes or no. It's not directly the company. It's not that I call a company and say, hey, I'm from Nestle, you want to have a meeting and buy, 100 coffee machines for your hospital. It doesn't work like this. I need to really, from a personal point of view, impress my decision maker, my client, with the value I share, the way how I position myself. And when it resonates, they become much more receptive. So B2B sales is built on human to human interaction.
Yeah. And how do they link that? How do they link their personal profile if they don't own their own company? Like I own my own company. I've always owned my own company. It seems like for 30 years. I haven't, I got out of the military, never got a job, not interested. And so I have a personal brand, John Rankins, and then I have a company brand. Obviously, the sales machine has its own page, but I get way more engagement and or followers on my personal brand. So I agree with you there. Should every salesperson for Nestle become an authority and an expert?
It's difficult because a lot of people who want to become an authority will never become an authority because they don't know how to position themselves, or they simply don't have the in-depth knowledge or expertise to be seen as an authority. So we're working at the moment, one of our most in-demand training programs is our LinkedIn Thought Leader program, where we take people, we help them to position themselves as thought leaders, to increase their communities, to increase their reach, with the end goal to convert to new business opportunities. And sometimes when we work with clients, with companies, they give us a list of names. And very often we delete like half of the name and say like, okay, we've looked at the person, we've looked at LinkedIn, we've spoken to the person. This person will never be a thought leader. Not because he doesn't want to be, because there's no fit, because it's a title you cannot claim if you don't walk the talk. If you don't have the in-depth knowledge, if you don't have the expertise that sets you apart from any of your competitors, it's very difficult to become a thought leader. So does everyone at, for example, Nestle needs to become a thought leader? It's impossible. But salespeople...
Yeah, and if they do become a thought leader, guess what they do?
They leave.
They leave Nestle. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's obviously, if some of them will, some of them will not. But we all heard HR complaining about LinkedIn trainings, because if we increase the visibility of our salespeople, we also increase the visibility towards recruiters, and they get headhunted and they leave the company. That's a whole different discussion. But if people leave the company,
exactly.
If they leave the company, it has nothing to do with LinkedIn. It has something to do that somebody makes them a better offer, or they feel that they're at the top of their career. So there are always other reasons why people leave the company. It's not because they have an optimized profile. It's not because they create, really cool posts on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I get it. But, and a lot of people don't want to be a thought leader.
No,
they just want to add value. Because for me, sales is three things. And I'm an old Zig Ziglar guy. Number one is we come from service, right? And never nervous. Why I got to be nervous? Because I'm in service. Number two, I'm here not to sell you something, but to solve your problem.
Exactly.
And then number three, I'm going to keep coming back to make sure you're satisfied and find other ways I can to continue being in service, helping you. And, so I get it. You want to grow your LinkedIn, you got to have a personal brand and a professional brand that relates to your company. So both are important. The second thing is content strategy. Now, you were saying if you really want to grow, you need to reach out to other people and say, hey, I like your content. I like what you're doing. That's essentially like reaching out to another thought leader, another influencer, another expert and saying, hey, man, I resonate with what you're doing. But a lot of business owners, a lot of leaders of companies, they're not creating any content.
Correct.
They got I work with companies all the time, manufacturing, distribution companies with field sales agents, and they're just trying to, increase sales and drive performance. And they're not interested in posting content or anything like that. Yet they're my ICP. They're the people that they're my ideal client profile because I know I can help them. And I wouldn't call myself a thought leader, more of a results leader. Based on the results I actually help people create. But for the people who don't want to be a thought leader, or the individuals out there, whether they're CEO, they're the C-suite, or they're VP of sales or VP of marketing, for those guys that want to grow their LinkedIn essentially, they just want to solve a problem. They want to increase their sales and drive performance. What do you suggest they do for their salespeople to expand essentially their distribution channels?
So you mean what sales leaders need to do to help their teams to sell better on LinkedIn?
To generate leads, on LinkedIn, and to open up new distribution channels. As an example, like if I manufacture, chips and cookies in its simplest form, and I want to distribute to mom and pop shops, as well as 7-Eleven, as well as Stater Brothers, or as well as Safeway, big Costco, big retail, as well as small retail. What can I do with my LinkedIn to do that? Even though I'm not a thought leader, I'm just trying to get my people out there and give them a system to generate leads and close more deals. If you're enjoying this episode and you're picking up what I'm putting down and what the guests are actually putting out there, do me a favor, like and comment what you liked about the episode, or even comment what would you like to hear, what topics would you like to hear in the future, because believe me, it matters. I read absolutely every single one of them, and I want to bring you more and more value to help companies scale so that we can grow this podcast to make a bigger difference. Now let's get back to the show.
If you look at the stats, only 1.4% of all LinkedIn members are publishing content on a weekly basis. And I was in Washington, D.C. in November on a big event providing a keynote on LinkedIn lead generation. And when I showed that number, 1.4%, I saw a lot of people in the audience. There were 1,000 people in the audience. They were relieved. And I said, I see what you're doing. You're relieved because now you feel like, hey, I'm not publishing content, but now this guy is telling I belong to the majority, so nothing to worry. And I said, I challenge you to see it from a different perspective. It means that if you step up your game and only create one post a week, you now outperform 98% of your competitors as well, because they're not publishing on a weekly basis. So there's a huge, huge opportunity. Leaders, CEOs, even in manufacturing, they need to understand that a post from a CEO on average gets 4 to 6 times more exposure than a post from salespeople. Why? Because C-level are more being searched for by decision-making units, by stakeholders in the industry, because we want to know what company leaders are doing on LinkedIn and what they're saying. A CEO that starts to publish will see a more rapid growth than any of his salespeople. By doing that, he or she can increase the visibility of the company, but also can help support the growth of the salespeople. There was a US-based software company that we worked for. It's a client. We worked with them for over 3 years, where we took some of their C-levels, some of the director level, and we gave them additional channels. We gave them a LinkedIn newsletter. We gave them a podcast. We gave them a LinkedIn live event to start talking about, as you mentioned before, the results they bring to their clients, okay? The added value they bring, not their products, but what the results. And on those podcasts, on those LinkedIn lives, there came more and more traction from their target audience. Now, The CEO is not going to follow up. The CTO is not going to follow up. But if you give those lists of people who have engaged to your sales and you have a system in place that they can follow up and say, hey, we just saw your comment on the podcast from a CEO with an interesting opinion on topic X, and I would love to hear more about you. Let's connect. We saw that there was a 45% positive follow-up rate from the salespeople on content shared by leaders in the company. And also, you guide them, because that's another thing that I see with some companies. I've worked with companies where a sales leader, so a CSO, instructed us, you need to teach my salespeople to use LinkedIn in a more efficient way to generate leads. So they need to create content, they need to follow up, they need to spend their time on LinkedIn. I love it, okay? That's what we do. Okay, we will take them, we will guide them, they will become successful. But what is it that you do yourself? And then the CSO said, no, I don't have time for LinkedIn, I don't publish on LinkedIn. I said, that's the wrong signal you give. You need to lead the way. So be part of the training, or we have an individual program before we start, because they're going to look at you and they're going to look like, okay, how is our leader doing on LinkedIn? What is he sharing? How is he connecting with our target audience? So it needs to be, I would almost say, in the DNA of all the people involved in business development and sales to become more active on LinkedIn. And if you do it as a team, if you do it with multiple people, don't underestimate the synergy you can create. If all the people step up their game on LinkedIn at the same time, you create a massive magnet towards your company page and your company content.
Yeah, and in saying that, you also said you should reach out to other influencers and know what your competition is doing. Should you like and share your competitors' content?
It depends the type of competitor you have. I am connected with a lot of, I wouldn't call them LinkedIn experts, but they are experts using LinkedIn in a perfect way. And I don't care to like or comment on their content. And yes, they might have the same clients. Yes, they might be a competitor, but if it's valuable content, I respond. In some industries, and I've also seen with some of our clients, that they would never like or comment on a competitor post because those are very aggressive markets. And imagine, by commenting on a post, you increase the visibility for your competitor as well. Also, I've worked with companies in specific areas, for example, pharma, where people were not even allowed from the company perspective to engage with competitors' posts. Okay, so there we have a legal issue, whether it's legit or not, I don't know. There is a difference between peers and competitors, because I have so many peers that when I respond to their posts, it increases my own visibility because they have a very big influential network. Some of them, they don't know me. So commenting on those posts actually increases my visibility in a new network. So I would never hesitate to leave an insightful comment on a on-topic quality post from a peer. If it's a 100% competitor and I know that we're up against them with several of our clients, I might not do it because I don't want to increase their visibility. But that's, it's common sense, I guess.
Yeah, but I think there's a fine line. So as an example,
there is.
You work with Salesforce. Salesforce has thousands of salespeople globally. And not just that, they have a lot of software integrators. I mean, people that are selling Salesforce that don't work for Salesforce. They're just resellers. And so when you work for Salesforce and you develop a playbook for them and their salespeople, where do you find the balance for them posting, creating content? Is it directed by the company? Do you do the strategy with the company and the salespeople? And how do you walk the line? Because Salesforce, their competitors are HubSpot. Their competitors are Zoho.
Dynamics.
We get thrown into the bucket of CRM and Salesforce, which to me, all the CRMs, you heard it here, folks, address books. They don't drive performance. They just manage and track the data where you can measure it. But unless you have alignment and rewards and recognition and competition, it really doesn't drive performance. It's just track performance, right? So very different. So how do you set up and work with a company like Salesforce to stand out amongst the crowd of HubSpot, Zoho, or the sales machine?
If we work with big corporates, obviously we need to align between marketing and sales, because we cannot walk a certain direction with the salespeople and tell them to create a specific type of content while it's not aligned with, I don't know, brand guidelines or corporate goals. So one of the things we do before starting with a sales program is that we have a few sessions with marketing, but also to assess what type of content they are currently having to facilitate to sales. And this is very interesting because I can tell you 90% of our clients, when we start working with them, marketing does not have the right content for sales to use for outreach. They have these dense white papers, 30 pages. They have these dense benchmarks nobody cares about because it's all about blah, blah, blah. And it's very badly targeted at the challenges and needs of the clients. Furthermore, either you have two types of salespeople. Salespeople that say, give me the white paper and I will post it on LinkedIn so I can tick the box. Did you create a post on LinkedIn? Yes, I did. Did it do anything? No, it didn't. But that was not my task. My task was to just publish the white paper. So I did. And other salespeople who say like, I know the information inside the white paper could be valuable for my clients. I don't want to publish the white paper because I know nobody's going to read it. And I lack the skill to convert this dense white paper, 30 page, into a suitable, easy to digest LinkedIn post. Okay. So those are things that we discuss with marketing. Hey, you have a white paper, 30 pages, great. But we want you to create a one-page infographic. We want you to create 2 or 3 teaser posts for your salespeople to start using in their outreach. And if somebody resonates and responds, then as a follow-up, they can say, hey, we have a 30-page white paper for free. Do you mind me send it over to you? So it's understanding the mechanisms of LinkedIn outreach, understanding that in your first outreach, also your post, they should be easy to digest, easy to scan, and don't take more than 10 seconds to see if it has value, yes or no. If that's not the case, all your content efforts will fall flat. They will not do anything. So it's essential that we have the discussion with marketing to make them understand, because marketing needs to feed sales in general with marketing content. And then besides that, we teach salespeople how to create their own individual content strategy that together with the marketing materials creates a unique experience for their audience.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard of IDA, attract, influence, desire, and action. I came up with a model called ICE Baby. Okay, not Ice Baby, but I've sang with Ice. I actually sang with Vanilla Ice on stage, and it was pretty cool. But no, I came up with my own ICE framework for my marketing to understand what our salespeople need, which is attract, influence, convert, right? And then elevate. Elevate means convert a sale. But, so we went through the branding. I get it. We went through the content, and now it's all about engagement. So what do you think are the keys to actually getting engagement, getting, someone to convert? Like for me, it's attract them, influence them to download something, to comment, to like, to do something, to repost. What do you think is the key to engaging and then getting them to take action?
I think one of the keywords is reciprocity. So I think if you want your clients to engage with you, if you want to tease them to get to know you, you need also to show them that you're alive, that you value their content, that you respond. And like you said before, this obviously only works if your clients are publishing content, because if you have people that are silent on LinkedIn, you cannot reach out to their content. What we do in our programs is that we give salespeople a KPI, and this is depending on the company, whether they want to have 5 comments a day or 10 or 20. We recently worked with a company that went all in and they said, our people need to leave 30 comments a day. And I said, that's a lot, 30 comments a day, because we don't want them to leave comments like, great post, thank you for sharing, because it doesn't do shit. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything if you have those comments. It doesn't position you, it doesn't add value, and it might even be done with an automation. So it's better not to comment than to leave great post.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, like that. No, the problem for many salespeople, many people in general on LinkedIn, is not what to comment, because if they see a post that's relevant to them, they know what to comment because they have their knowledge. They know, their stuff. The problem is that they lose so many precious time on finding those posts that are actually relevant, because if you scroll your feed, 20% of what you see is LinkedIn telling you what they want you to see, not what's relevant for you. You see a lot of ads, you see a lot of posts that are not relevant to you. So scrolling your feed is the worst thing you can do. So we teach them, we have a system and we have software where you can say, okay, these are my top 50 clients. These are my top 20 peers. You put them in the system and you get a feed outside LinkedIn with all chronologically ordered their posts. So no more scrolling, no more visiting profiles to see whether someone has published yes or no. No, you just go to this tool and you go start it at the top and you leave all those comments. And
That's
you
gold.
will.
That's absolute gold. That was a golden nugget you just dropped right there.
Did I?
So is that that's gold, right? Because otherwise, you're just wasting so much time scrolling these feeds when in actuality, what is the steps you take the people through? And I'm gonna get, is this in your playbook and the algorithm of what you created?
No, it's not. No, because the tool in the system is not in there. I agree. We came up with this system because you don't want your salespeople to spend like half an hour, 45 minutes to scroll LinkedIn or to look for profiles and then come up with 2 comments. I mean, that's not the efficiency we want. What you want is to have them to identify their top prospect list, the top peer list, and to dive in 10, 15 minutes a day, leaving 10 comments. You will be so impressed about the increase in incoming invites from your target audience, the increase in engagement, reciprocity on your own posts, that this is probably number 1 tactic for 2025, your engagement strategy. And I can tell you, we use a tool. It's a tool created by someone I really value. It's useaware.com. It's a tool outside LinkedIn. Works like it works like a blast, and it saves me on average 3 to 4 hours a week in finding those comments because I have them all like in a list.
That's priceless. So, I am like blown away by your playbook. You spent 20 years and you just spent $30,000 creating that playbook to actually understand the algorithms for companies and individuals to use to literally scale their LinkedIn and just become a sales machine on LinkedIn. Exactly. That resonates with me. And so for everybody out there listening right now, literally imagine you can download Richard Vanderblom's playbook. And for today, I told you we'll give you a special code, and the code is the sales machine. And typically, LinkedIn authorities out there are charging anywhere between $1,000 and $5,000 to optimize your profile, to do, give you courseware. Richard has created a playbook about all of the algorithm and how it works on LinkedIn, especially just for the show. You use the promo code, the sales machine. You can get it for 99 euros. And not only that, you can download that playbook and then most importantly, reach out to him and he can walk you step by step, little by little, how he's allowed Salesforce, Nestle, PwC to scale their sales teams, to generate more leads and be even more successful. And if he can do it with the big boys, he can do it with you. Where do they go to download that playbook?
They can go to my LinkedIn profile, Richard Vanderblom. It's on top of just below my profile picture. There's a link. If they click it, they go directly to the page where they can buy the playbook. And also in my featured section, the first item in my featured section is also get your copy of the playbook. So there are 2 links very present on my profile where they can click on and they can go to.
Hey folks, for those looking to get more results out of their LinkedIn, Richard is gifting our listeners with a discount, and we're going to give you a promo code for his content algorithm playbook on LinkedIn. Over $30,000 have been invested, 20 years of experience. The updates on the algorithm is for life. So you invest as little as 99 euros and you're going to get a report direct to your email box every time that algorithm changes. So go check it out, download the report, invest in what's working right now and what's going to work in the future. And you can find it in the show notes. He does it for the big boys. He can do it for you too. Now, back to you, Richard. What are the biggest mistakes people are making and how long does it take them to correct them and get on track and or work to transform what they're doing?
Well, people can make a lot of mistakes on LinkedIn, unfortunately. So this could be a very long list, but let me give you some of the things I often witness. So first of all, treating LinkedIn like a broadcast channel. So you're only there to create posts, you're only there to pitch people, but you don't engage in the LinkedIn ecosystem. I mean, there is no engagement from you to other people. There's no interest in other people. You're just there to sell. That's not working, and people will see it and you will not get any conversion. Second, your content strategy doesn't put your clients at the center. That's also a mistake. Every post I make is to support my target audience to understand better how they can use LinkedIn for sales. That's like the central point of all my content. And every now and then, I use what I call converting content. So I make a post about how can people collaborate with me? What can they get from me? Every now and then, I help my audience I support my audience to convert. Unfortunately, a lot of people have it the other way around. 8 out of 10 posts is about what they have to offer, where you can buy, and only 2 out of 10 are value. It needs to be the other way around. 9 out of 10 needs to be value, sharing insights for free. 1 out of 10 need to be to help your audience to convert. Another mistake, we already discussed this, but it's worthwhile to emphasize, is if your brand is from a salesperson, you are in trouble. If people go to your profile and they go like, this is a salesperson, they are going to respond less to your content. They're going to accept less your invites because they already expect a follow-up. So that's, again, why you need to position yourself more as an authority / thought leader than as a salesperson. You probably will not believe it, or maybe you don't agree with it, John, but we have clients where we ask the salespeople to get rid of the sales name in their headline. Sales manager at Nestle, get rid of it. Say something like sustainability expert at Nestle. The guy is selling machines, coffee machines that are more sustainable. So if you call yourself sustainability expert at Nestle, now you're an expert. But if I call myself sales manager at Nestle, a lot of my target audience will not respond to my invite because they expect me to follow up with a sales message. So it's really about a change of perspective, how I can position myself on LinkedIn based on behavior for my target audience. I need to understand how are my decision makers behave on LinkedIn, what do they do, what they do of value, what are they trying to avoid, and then I can adapt my strategy, both my profile and my content, to those insights.
I get it. And I see that happening a lot, as far as even when the people send DMs, right? Without sound, what do people need to do to actually attract with direct messaging people, not just to connect, but to potentially jump on a call and do it differently than everybody else? Is it a nurturing step-by-step process? Because ultimately you don't want to just jump in and say, hey man, I saw your profile. I saw you liked what I got, or you liked my post. What is the approach?
The approach is that you need to understand that every message has a different goal and that timing is essential. Okay. So to give you an example, if I send out a connection request to you, John, because I know you're the big boss of a SaaS company. So if I send you a connection request, the connection request is about you. It's not about me. It's something I read about your company, something I saw in your post, something that resonates with you or with me on your profile. So the connection request, it's about you. And my only goal is to get it accepted. My goal is not to book a meeting. My goal is you need to accept, okay? Because once you accept, it means that now I can DM you. I can send you a message on LinkedIn because we are connected. So that's the first thing. The worst thing that you can do, I sent you a connection request. It's all about you, blah, blah, blah. John, you have a great company. I love your post. And then you accept. The worst thing you can do is follow up on the same day or within 10 minutes. Because then you feel, wow, this guy tricked me into accept. And now he comes with a pitch. So what I do, if somebody accepts, I wait 3 to 4 days. Because too eager on LinkedIn means too salesy. So I wait 3-4 days. I come back to you and then I go like, hey, John, thank you for accepting my connection request. Really means a lot to me. And then I have what I call a conversation starter. I have something that I have, a free resource where I go like, I don't know how you're doing with the sales machine. We see that a lot of people are making mistakes on LinkedIn for outreach. I recently wrote this article about the 10 mistakes to avoid with LinkedIn outreach. Is that something that would be of your interest? Now, 2 things can happen. Either you ghost me, which means you didn't win for it. So then I put you on another list and in a month I will try with another type of content. Or you go like, hey, Richard, this sounds great. Please send it to me. Then I have my third message. I send you the article. And then in a week, I follow up and say, hey, John, did you have the time? Did you find the time to go through the article? What are your thoughts? So I'm going from step by step, from first getting connected. Second, try to see if there's an opening to start a conversation about what we do and how we could support you. 3, deliver the goods for free. And then 4, if you come back to me and you say, wow, this checklist was really good, I forwarded to my sales team, and then probably my fourth message would be, John, we have so much more resources that can support your sales team, but it would be better to schedule a 15-minute call so I can explain to you how we could support you. And that's my conversion message. I always ask for 15 minutes. I don't ask for half an hour. I don't send a Calendly link. I just go like, do you have 15 minutes? Because I have so much more value to give or to show you, but I prefer to do it in a personal meeting.
Yeah. So tell me if this sounds familiar. Hi, John. As the CEO of the Sales Machine, I see you help companies increase sales, drive performance, and retain your customers. And I see that you also help companies like Dory, and this endorsement that's on your website. If you would like more clients like Dory, how would you like to book a 15-minute call on my calendar?
Yeah, it's
Look
horrible.
forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I get 10 of these a day.
I actually, you're probably going to laugh at this, John. I actually put a symbol in the company's name on LinkedIn, a symbol that we know is not part of the name, but I put it there because now when I get those messages, the symbol is in there, and no people with common sense that would type the company name manually would input a symbol. So whenever I see that my company name is written entirely with a symbol, I know it's an automation that says, hi, first name, I see you are, job title at current company. And then they go to your recommendations or to your work experience. They do some name dropping, and then they expect you to book the 15-minute call. That's what I said in the beginning, that people underestimate the intelligence of their potential clients, because you feel that it's scripted. You feel that somebody is sending out in bulk.
Right? I know it's scripted. Yeah. And you know, I still get tons of these. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah. So you just wrote the playbook, and you've updated the playbook with the algorithm. When was the last time the algorithm changed?
It's constantly changing. Our research has stats and data until the end of March. So we released it April 28th, but it has relevant. It's based on what is working in the algorithm until the end of March. But September and always January are 2 moments that we do a small update. So we're not going to release another 250-page report, but most of the time it's between 10 and 20 pages where we say, hey, this is what it was in April, and this is the add-on. These are the recent changes.
The last time they updated the algorithm, what should companies do immediately to pivot until they download your playbook?
Yeah, there are 2 things that really stand out. So first of all, and this was officially announced by LinkedIn around 8 months ago, LinkedIn tweaked the algorithm because their head of product literally said, we don't want our members to chase virality. We want them to become more impactful. So what we're going to do, we are going to show your post to less people, but to more relevant people. And for 95% of the creators, individual, and for 96% of all the companies, reach has gone down hugely. I'm talking 40 to 50% compared to last year. Even for me, I'm currently on only 40% of my reach compared to last year. So I lost 60% of my reach. And I didn't change anything in my strategy. But
call the police.
Yeah, something like that. You know, it's hugely frustrating every now and then. But the most important thing is that my engagement, so the total number of likes, comments, and reposts, is exactly at the same level. So that for me proves that less reach, less people seeing your content, but the same number of engagement is that they are showing it to a more relevant people who are more like eager and have higher intention to respond. So one of the things, and it's written with all kind of stats and data and trend lines in the report, but one of the things that we should do is let go of any KPI that has to do with visibility views and change your KPIs to engagement and even better to conversion. Like how many people are downloading our white paper, how many people are coming to a website from LinkedIn. So that's the first thing. Second, there is a new element in the algorithm. It's called consumption rate. Let me give you an example. If I share a video of 4 minutes on LinkedIn, I create a post, I share a video. Previously, until last year, if some people, like the majority of people, would watch 2 minutes, that would have meant 2 minutes of dwell time. Dwell time means how long do people stay on my post to consume? 2 minutes, which is huge on LinkedIn, okay? So until last year, publishing a video of 4 minutes, on average, people watching 2 minutes would mean LinkedIn would qualify your post as being relevant because of the 2 minute screen time and then would increase your reach. This is why we saw last year long videos being successful, carousel posts with 200 slides being successful, because people kept clicking on the next slide and maybe they stopped after 50 slides, but hey, they clicked on 50 slides, huge success. Now LinkedIn implemented consumption rate, which means, same example, a 4-minute video, people dropping up after 2 minutes, the consumption rate is 50%. 50% of your content is not consumed, which is a negative penalty for the algorithm. 200 slides and people click 50 slides, 25% consumed, 75% not consumed. So now your main role also on a company page is to make sure that once people start with your content, they end it. So they consume it entirely. So that means easy to digest, micro content, videos of max 1 minute, slide decks of max 12 slides, infographics, all the information that can be retrieved and consumed instantly is performing way better than last year.
That's amazing. That's priceless because, it's never ending how many minutes people are not going to spend, especially if you're not engaging and you're not influential. So priceless. Thanks so much, Richard, for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, reach out. Be a part of the network if you really are in B2B sales. And whether you're, targeting CEOs or you're targeting vice presidents or directors, LinkedIn is the place to find them, and it's the place to nurture relationships. And you might as well go to the expert who's been doing it for 20 years. Any final thoughts, Richard?
Yeah, my only final thought would be never, ever write for the algorithm because, it's not working. Always put your human audience central in whatever you do. But with some basic understanding, or let me say with average understanding of the algorithm, you can already double your impact on LinkedIn. So it's first your audience, and then with all the knowledge that, for example, I'm sharing, but there are more people sharing that, you can really double or triple your conversion, your engagement with the same efforts.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richard van der Blom.
Thank you, John.
Thanks. That was brilliant, man. That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for joining me today. And if you got value from this episode, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and refer a friend. And if you want even more value, go to thesalesmachine.com, click on resources, and there's tons of resources there to increase profits and drive performance in your business. Right on, come on.